on it for this, okay? Trigger warning, you are going to see some gay sex happening right now. Oh my God, I'm gonna lick his bald fucking dome, okay? Nothing more devastating you can do on a comedy podcast as a comedian than hit him with dead air. Straight up, just dead air. It is infinitely better than giving him a reaction because he's trying to draw a reaction out of him, and he just said nothing.
I'm on the side of the kids.
Yeah, that's easy to say. You know, no one wants to see kids dead.
Yeah. That's so easy to say. It's so easy to say, even though I attributed being on the side of the student protesters to being pro-Hamas.
This is a war.
That was very brave of you to say.
This is a war.
He cooked him. Yo, God, I love him, dude. Yeah, that's very brave of you to say.
Want to see kids dead. This is a war.
That was very brave of you to say.
This is a war. No, I'm the one who was actually brave on this.
Pat yourself on the back.
It's easy to.
God damn, dude. God, I fucking love him so much. He's so good.
Say I'm for the kids. Who's not for the kids?
Well,
it comes down to real hard-nosed decisions. Like a country.
Stop talking like you're a general.
A country got attacked. Israel got attacked.
I'm not saying that they didn't have a right to go back. I'm just sitting there going like, how do I look at
We're the only country in the world that they get attacked, and then as soon as they counterattack, it's like, well, we got to stop this shit now. Don't attack them. There's a very simple solution to all this problem in the Middle East. Stop attacking Israel.
Hey, you just
Stop attacking Israel.
You just solved it.
I actually did.
There you go. That's fantastic.
It's great because, like, you can tell he's not, like, super well equipped to have this conversation. But even he's like, come on, Bill. You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking asshole. All right, Bill? All right, old Billy bitch tits? You fucking asshole.
Anyway,
all right,
we don't need to get onto that.
Let's go to Russia and the Ukraine. How do you solve that one, Bill? Let me hear your hard-nosed decision about that. Well, let me ask you a question. How is war still legal? All the shit that's been canceled.
Legal.
Why is that still fucking legal?
Would you like a real answer to that? Because for something to be illegal, you have to have the capacity to enforce it. And you can't enforce against war, or else you have to go to war with the country that's going to war. And we don't want to go to war with Russia over Ukraine.
I want to be as, like, cool and nonchalant when addressing, like, arrogant fucking assholes like Bill Maher. Because, like, he is so, like, when I hear him, I want to hurt him. Like, I want to hurt his feelings. I want to disrespect him. I want him to feel the pain that he is justifying. You know what I mean? I can't be, like, as cool and as effortless in the way that Bill Burr is always able to carry himself in, where he's just so quick. He's very quick-witted, which I love. But he also is just like, yeah, why are you talking like a general? You know what I mean? Like, he's not even addressing, he's just addressing directly the aesthetics of his argument. He's doing a phenomenal job of dismantling Bill Maher on the virtues that Bill Maher cares about the most. Okay, I know I said I was going to blow bubbles on it, but, like, I'm looking at this as, like, propaganda, okay? You're not understanding. Yes, I'm blowing bubbles on it, but then I'm also giving you good reason as to why I'm blowing bubbles on it, because I'm also carefully extracting more out of this conversation, this 2-minute conversation, than you otherwise would. Like, there's one way to look at this and just, like, laugh at it. And then there's another way to look at it and, like, carefully analyze the way that he is deflecting arguments, even when he doesn't have all of the information. And he's also, like, he's neutralizing grenades that are being thrown at him, right? He's over here, like, saying, oh, dude, you know, oh, these kids are pro-Hamas. They want Jewish rape to happen, or whatever the fuck he's saying. And he doesn't address any of the points at all. He's just like, all right, asshole, fucking calm down. I'm with the kids, okay?
And we don't want to go to war with Russia over Ukraine. What would be the sense of making it illegal? Oh, that's really going to stop Putin. No. To stop people from going to war, you have to also put boots.
You can't sit down and talk it out. Why can't Putin do a podcast with the head guy? Like, you just solved the Middle East on a podcast. Why can't they solve what they're doing on a podcast?
This is why this is not your thing.
Make some hard-nosed decisions.
It's
not your thing. It's what you...
That is my thing.
It isn't your thing.
Okay, I want to see more of this now. Yeah. I mean, he's obviously fucking with him when he's like, yeah, why doesn't Putin do a podcast? That's a joke, Bill. He's making fun of you, dumbass. He's making fun of you. You don't even fucking understand. And you're such a smug piece of shit that you went, this is why this is my thing and not your thing. Idiot. God, he's so fucking stupid.
It is my
It
thing.
isn't your
This
thing.
is not
It
your
isn't.
thing.
You're like that guy
Plain
that has a fantasy football team and thinks he's a fucking GM.
No. No.
That's exactly what it is. Like, why am I fucking listening to you like you've done something? What have you done in Washington? Nothing.
My fucking goat, dude. Okay, I need to explain something to you. Sometimes the reason why I take certain positions without directly addressing the root cause is for this exact same reason. What is this? I really like Bill Burr's whole arc. If you watch his specials chronologically, it's basically about a guy whose functional marriage is slowly making him less insane. Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true. The greatest thing that's ever happened, if you're an OG fan of Billy Bitch Tits, you know this to be an absolute fucking fact. His friendship with Patrice O'Neal and his wife literally straight up made him into a well-grounded person. I know he is the original black girlfriend / black wife meme. Yeah. There are heroes. There are unsung heroes out there. Can I just say, there is literally no greater hero on the internet than the guy who goes through and meticulously details with accurate timestamps on a YouTube video.
That's
What's over? Cancel culture?
yeah. No one cares anymore.
That's so not true. Either one of us could get canceled in the next 2 minutes.
For what? You're not doing anything. It was just like you did this joke about, this group of people or that group of people, and I've decided I don't know. I feel like I'm going back 2 years of my life. Like I don't even think about it anymore. I feel like people that watch 24-hour news networks get institutionalized to blame colors of ties rather than the corporations behind them. And they will just sit there convinced that, Trump is the worst thing that happened to this country or Biden is the worst thing that happened to this country. And it's just like, you might want to just kind of push through that veil a little bit further.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have this thing like when I get around like the 24-hour news zombies.
No, I look good. That's the difference. Is that you're wearing
You gotta
sneakers.
throw that in my
You got
face.
you got a t-shirt on. Like
You look like a fucking defendant. Look at you trying to beat a drinking and driving charge. He doesn't have any priors, Your Honor. Look at him. He's wearing his Chelsea boots.
Let's get to the good stuff.
I hate Harvard. Are you kidding? Have you heard what's going on college campuses these days?
And the beautiful part is he's the one who brought it up.
You don't realize that college campuses erupted with the kids demonstrating for Hamas? They are in with the terrorists.
They were for the Palestinians.
Well, it's sort of the same cause. Why, are you?
I'm on the side of the kids.
Yeah, that's easy to say. No one wants to see kids dead. This is a war.
It's very brave of you to say
This is a war.
That's so funny. It's like it's brave of me to say that I want to see some kids dead. That silence is so cutting. It's so perfect. God, it's hard not to glaze this man, okay? I love him so much. Billy Bitch Tits, I know you don't know who I am, and I know you will never know who I am, but I fucking love you, man. I love you, big dog. I'm a certified yapper and a grade A glazer, okay? The amount of energy I spend glazing old Billy Bitch Tits, old Bilbo Baggins over here, literally is melting polar ice caps. He would destroy you. I would let him destroy me. It would be an honor to stand side by side with Bill Burr. If he was just like destroying my worldview, I would just sit there and I say, yes, sir, you're so right. I love him. He's phenomenal. He is a phenomenal person to be a spokesman for your cause, especially because he's, one, endlessly charismatic, and two, he does such a great job of like dismantling talking points while looking like an everyman, He looks like a fucking average Joe. He sounds like an average Joe. Sounds like a fucking stevedore. He has hundreds of, I guess, tens of millions of dollars at the very least, but he still ultimately lives a relatively ascetic lifestyle. He's a bald king. He does such a good job of like dismantling reactionary talking points in a way that convinces the audience that like his interlocutor is the insane one. He does such a good job of being like, dude, what are you saying? He hits that line so fucking well. Stop fetishizing the bald. I will never stop fetishizing the balds. You can't stop me. It's not illegal. fucking bouncing on it like you're sitting on a spring sun. There are a couple people that I absolutely fucking glaze. And back in the day, it used to be Bernie Sanders, old Bernie, old Bernardo, LeBron James still to this day, and Bill Burr. Those are the three guys that are my goats. And yeah, Bernie is a little, you know, I will always respect Bernie. Giannis Varoufakis and stuff like I also obviously love. Oh my God, he's also bald. Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God. Wait, LeBron James, Giannis Varoufakis, Bernie Sanders, Bill Burr. Oh my God. All my heroes are bald. What the fuck? Lenin? Stop. Oh my God. Let's just continue.
Well, let me ask you a question. How is war still legal? All this shit that's been canceled.
Legal.
Why is that still fucking legal?
Would you like a real answer to that? Because for something to be illegal, you have to have the capacity to enforce it. And you can't enforce against war, or else you have to go to war with the country that's going to war.
This actually perfectly demonstrates Bill Maher's way of thinking. Like, he made a silly remark, like, oh, how is war not illegal, huh? How about we cancel war? Like, he's not being serious when he says that. And then Bill Maher, one, takes him seriously and goes, oh, you want a serious answer? And then immediately starts demonstrating his worldview. That, like, oh, you can't stop war because, like, you would have to go to war with the other country. And you know, it's too powerful or whatever the fuck. It's like, no, man, it's because people make money. It's always for resources. I don't think there's ever been a war throughout human history that wasn't about, like, ultimately about resources, whether it be land, whether it be gems, whether it be natural resources. It's just, that's it. And now the war economy in and of itself has become a very important resource. As a little reductionist, I mean, yeah, I'm just pointing to one singular aspect of why war occurs. Obviously, there's like, no, like here, this is a great example, religion. No, if you think the Crusades were simply on the virtue of religion and not that religion was used as a galvanizing principle, you've got it all wrong. That was resources. It was expansion. Religion was simply used as a way to justify the need to do such things. U.S. Civil War, literally resources. Slavery was a commodity. Human beings were seen as capital. The right went to war utilizing the pre-existing racial pecking order and the fears that many had in the South that their culture would change in an effort to defend slave owners from losing their mode of production. Better put, industrial capitalists versus agricultural proto-capitalists. Pearl Harbor was in direct response to our blockades of the Japanese petroleum industry. Yep. In every single aspect of, like, religious war or whatever, it's actually still about expansion, colonial ambitions, and securing resources. Except they masquerade as like religious wars in an effort to add a secondary reason, a galvanizing principle. Religion plays that role.
You fucking get off your little private jet. I have a TV show.
And you travel Southwest, is that right? So,
I love Southwest.
Really?
I love the order.
Is that how you travel?
I love Southwest.
Do you travel commercial?
Most of the time, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I won't lie, this is a bit of an indefensible take. I think Southwest is really like, Southwest is like supposed to be democratically organized. It is so bad though. Southwest is like what right-wingers think communism is. People are able to purchase like a better position on the line so they can have their pick of the litter. Except, like with the exception of the first row and I guess like the emergency exits, every single, including the fucking seats on the first row and the emergency exits, every single seat is dog shit. It literally is the right-wingers' understanding of communism or socialism. The true goal, obviously, and by the way, and that is because Southwest is a capitalist institution, the true goal should be to make it so that air travel across the board offers the same leg room that is like literally the same leg room that's like valid for every single fucking person on the flight. Sit your ass down and listen. No, it's because it's equally shitty for all on Southwest. Their goal overall is to just like pack as many people as possible to make as much money as possible because it's still a capitalist corporation. Complaining about airlines is such an influencer thing to do. It's such a passionate topic for podcasters. Wait, what? We live in the United States of America, chatter. What the fuck do you mean? Try going from like one part of this continent to the other, especially when there's no trains. Like, what are we talking about? Come on, like you would spend a day in a train? I have, and it was a fucking joyful experience every single time. Whether it be the surf liner on the coast of the California water line from San Diego to Los Angeles, or obviously a much more elevated experience in the form of a bullet train going from Tokyo to Kobe. And in my childhood, I used to also frequently take the train in Turkey.
Bigger plane, better pilots. You don't get knocked around as much. You're riding a fucking Cadillac. The only thing that sucks about commercial is boarding. That's it. Once you're there and you got your fucking shit up there, you're flying first class, which all first class is, if you never flown it, is they treat you like a human being.
Oh my God, this is a one-to-one verbatim fucking Hasanabi take. I swear to God, someone find the clip. I've said this verbatim. I'm not even kidding. The only difference between business class and economy, other than like the obvious legroom, is literally they treat you like a fucking human being. I have said this verbatim. When you fly business class, they literally just treat you the way that like everyone is supposed to be treated. Oh my God. Oh God, I love him so much. No, he's not a Hasanabi head. It's just that we view the world in similar lenses. I mean, it's not like that unique of a take, to be fair. But yeah, we think alike. I exclusively fly economy, and honestly, I'm being treated subhuman. Are you kidding me? I've been flying both to America since like a very early age. Obviously, I'm 32 years old now, so it's been like 30 years of flying. And I have genuinely seen the change in both American domestic travel and international travel, where they like, through price leadership, not price fixing, mind you, price leadership, have created an environment that is like legitimately unsustainable for human life. Slowly but surely, over the course of years, they've literally made things that were obviously seen as amenities, things that were free with your ticket, become costly things that you have to purchase, all the way down to like literally only being able to bring a personal bag now in certain airlines. And for years and years, I did this thing where out of pure resentment and spite, I literally never even upgraded to, and early chatters remember this, I never even upgraded to Economy Plus. Back in my day, emergency rows were free. We didn't have to pay for that shit. It was free. You would ask kindly the wonderful lady or sir that you were too tall to sit in a regular seat, and if they could put you in the emergency exit, they would always say yes. Then they started charging for that shit. But not only that, but because I'm such a fucking stubborn, spite-driven asshole, that I refused to even upgrade because I was like, fuck that. If you guys remember, I would bring my big-ass bag that I would lug everywhere that had holes in it because it was technically a carry-on. Even though it actually wasn't a carry-on, it was like the size of a check-in luggage. But because I was a big dude, I would carry that shit around. Everyone used to make fun of me. And then one day, I got upgraded to business class. And that's when I realized, like, what the fuck am I doing? Once my ass touched a lie flat seat, dude, my life changed. For a 6-hour flight, I was like, oh my God, I have literally been like, I have the capacity to buy this. What the fuck am I doing? What the absolute fuck have I been doing? I've been just like torturing myself in like insane amounts of fucking knee pain, back pain, not even being able to fit on the fucking seat without shoving my feet under the seat. I even talked about how my attitude, I was worried that I was going to become like out of touch as a consequence of such things, which in some ways I have.
I'm still stuck on you defending Still stuck on you defending commercial flights as better. Now, you can make the case that it's wrong to fly private. I get that. But I've never heard anyone make the case that it's actually better to be on Delta. That's kind of kooky. No,
I hate Delta. Delta's the fucking worst.
I think you fly private more than you're letting on.
Listen, listen. If I have to go somewhere and I don't have enough time to get there.
Oh, suddenly we've got an exception.
No, I said mainly I fly commercial.
Well, you're an idiot.
This is an insane conversation that they're having, by the way. He's so mad that he said flying commercial is valid. It's like he's mad that he's saying you should fly commercial when you can, even if you have the money to fly private. Like, that's an insane... Like, how are you fucking talking about how out of touch the kids are, bro? What a fucking argument, dude. It honestly doesn't make any fucking sense that he's out here being like, yeah, dude, you're fucking crazy. You should be flying private all the time. Like, first of all, you're Bill Maher. Ain't nobody gives a shit about you, okay? You could fly commercial all day, every day. Nobody's gonna be like, you're not Taylor Swift. And even then, I think Taylor Swift should still fly fucking commercial regardless. Can we stop talking about rich assholes if it's not to dissect class war, please? Who cares about rich assholes? The fuck are we doing reacting to them? Thank you, base chatter. Your contributions to the Maoist-Leninist project has been noted. I am going to give myself 4 lashes specifically for the counter-revolutionary sentiment that I've expressed by looking at these bourgeois traitorous scum who are actually doing their very best in line with their class interests. I have once again done a no growth. I will absolutely engage in praxis. Thank you. Thank you so much for your statement. One of them is acting according to his class position, at least. Yeah, you have someone who is like a relative class traitor versus someone who is absolutely one of the best classist pieces of shit. And I think that this is a perfect demonstration, especially because they're both famous and a lot of people pay attention to what they have to say, and a lot of people will pay attention to what my analysis is overall of what they have to say. None of which is activism regardless. Yes, in the words of Patrick Bet-David, this is valuetainment.
But riddle me this about the business, because I'm always reading, as we're always talking of people at dinner when we're in this town and we're all in the business, and we're talking about the changing and the streaming and everything. Why is it, if a movie does well like that, then there isn't at least an offer to do the next one?
Because the people running it now, they're kind of doing like what Germany did, where they tried to take over the whole world, and you can't do that because there's just so many people don't want that. But there's always something in every business, like Amazon or fucking Walmart. They're always trying, you know, let's open up across from this mom and pop and put them out of business, and we'll be only showing them. Like,
that's such a funny way to describe that. Bill Burr did not do a good job in this debate. All he did was ad hominem Bill Maher for having more class than him. I hate how Maher used to be this hero for stoners, and now he can't even drink a glass of whiskey and smoke a J without sounding like he's about to pass out. You should be able to do that easily. Pathetic. He also personally, literally had like actual, like problematic, but I wouldn't say problematic, radical takes. Like religious Bill Maher, like back then, yeah, sure, he was still like an Islamophobe and whatever, but he also had smoke for all of the other religions. But beyond that, he straight up fucking said that 9/11 attackers, like him or hate him, are actually participating in an act of bravery in comparison to what we do, which is lob missiles from thousands of miles away. That is a literal take. That's a bill. That is a cert. He's the original 9/11 Andy. He said, doesn't matter what you think. You want to talk about bravery. The 9/11 attackers used box cutters to take a fucking plane and drive it directly into the Twin Towers. That is, and that was, by the way, like 2 days after 9/11. He said that, I think, within the 24-hour time frame or something like that. Like it was an unimaginable quote. It's not brave to kill people, in my opinion. Yeah, no shit. This is not even the hype up, you know, Muhammad Atta and shit. It simply is a statement about the way that this conflict unfolds. We have been cowards, lobbing cruise missiles from 2,000 miles away. That's cowardly. Staying in the airplane when it hits the building, say what you want about it, not cowardly. That's what he fucking said. And he was unimaginably canceled. Like, he literally was canceled for that. His show was canceled for that. I'm shocked that his life wasn't canceled for that. I feel like if he was Muslim, they would have killed him.
He made this infamous comment less than a week after 9/11.
We have...
Yeah, okay. It was a week. It was less than a week after 9/11. Think about how insane that is. People fucking canceled me because I said America deserved 9/11, like almost 20 years after the fact. This motherfucker literally said it like in the week. There were still Americans under the fucking rubble at that point. We had not even made an accurate assessment of the fucking accurate death toll. And this motherfucker's like, you know what's brave? 9/11 attackers.
Lobbing cruise missiles from 2,000 miles away. That's cowardly.
That is a
Staying in the airplane when it hits the building. Say what you want about it, not cowardly.
what's ironic about that statement is that he's basically saying what I have said as well in a different way, which is 9/11 is America's chickens come home to roost moment, right? Obviously, if you keep fucking meddling in the affairs of the Middle East over and over again and lob fucking cruise missiles over and over again in the Middle East, like someone's gonna be like, all right, fuck you then. That's basically what he's saying. He's saying it's like unironically cowardly to do that. Where the fuck we're at, of course, is going to end up hurting us. What I find particularly illuminating about like the career trajectory of Bill Maher after that is that like he obviously recovered from that. It took a long time to recover. I think that, I guess that broke his mind on, one, cancel culture in general, because he actually did eat that cancel culture dick. And he also leaned into more reactionary attitudes that he had towards Muslims, which was like a perfectly permissible target. It was a valid target. It was a target that everybody loved when he got edgy on. And I think that's what it is. It didn't take that long. He immediately got a show on HBO a few years later, less than 5 years later. Are you kidding me? 5 years is an insane gap in your resume. The point I was trying to make here is that I think played a role in his radicalization. That I think played a role in fucking the way he operates.
Did you guys see that now that Fuentes is back on Twitter, that there's now a war going on?
There are leftists that are running like Groyper accounts. Yeah. That's what you think?
The conservative war has ratcheted up once again. I haven't been on my conservative account in a little while, but I will say that things have started to get a little bad. Yeah, new challenger approaches. Let's see this. I got started with this. Jake Shields, known Jew disliker. Tim Pool is such a joke man with no principles. Last month, he told me he would have Nick Fuentes on for a debate about Israel. Later, he called and said that he didn't feel equipped for a debate and needed to find multiple Zionists for the panel. I called him back last week to see when he wanted to do it, and he ignored my calls. Yeah, I remember this. I know something about Tim Pool.
Soldiers hit the tank, hit by the tank. We're from Unit 202's. Oh my God, they're a Haredi integrated unit. Oh my God. Oh my God, that makes it, oh my God, that makes it funnier. Oh, Jesus Christ. Bro, listen. Listen. Wait, what the? Israeli tank fire kills 5 IDF soldiers in North Gaza? Wait, what? Wait, hold up. I didn't even know this happened. The fuck?
Israeli army says 5 of its soldiers were killed when they were mistakenly fired on by one of its tanks in northern Gaza. 2 shells were fired at paratroopers in Jabalia. These images show the aftermath of an Israeli strike in Jabalia. Israeli ground forces re-entered the area earlier this month. With more, here's our correspondent Dan Johnson in Jerusalem.
We know that 5 soldiers from the
first time the IDF actually fought terrorists. Well, not the first time. Let's be real. They have a lot of friendly fire incidents. So
their lives yesterday in the north of Gaza. This is in Jabalia, an area that the Israeli military has had to return to, having previously declared it cleared of Hamas fighters earlier in this conflict. Around January, they completed military operations in that area, but have had to go back there in the last few days. And that's raised a question over the sustainability of Israel's military strategy here, whether they are actually able to sustainably clear out Hamas for good. And that is something that is now playing out at the top of Israeli government. We have the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, challenging.
They thought they were Hamas. IDF tank kills 5, wounds 7 in Gaza-friendly fire accident. IDF releases names. The tanks were said to be under extreme pressure from dozens of rocket-propelled grenade attacks in the area. All openings into the tanks, including the canopy on the top, were ordered to be kept closed to avoid any hole or vulnerability. This, in turn, limited the tank's visibility. Tank Unit 82 soldiers said that they saw a potential threat and the barrel of a weapon emerge from the 3-floor battalion headquarters, which was only 10 to 20 meters away from them. Soldiers hit by the tank were from Unit 202's. Oh my God, they're a Haredi integrated unit. Oh my God. Oh my God, that makes it, oh my God, that makes it funnier. Oh, Jesus Christ. Bro, listen. You should have kept studying religion, okay? Haredi integrated unit originally, okay, so the Haredi integrated unit, and I've talked about this before, is a lot of the Haredi population in Israel get religious exemption from serving in the IDF. Some of which are anti-Zionist, of course, remember, and many who are not anti-Zionist, very pro-Zionist, very aggressively, demanding that Israel kill as many people as they possibly can, while simultaneously not serving in the military. This has been a long debate, a long point of contention amongst Israeli society. Anyway, and if you recall, there was, I made some jokes about this, like, in the beginning, like in early October, when like a lot of the Haredi population were like, no, actually, we are now volunteering for the IDF. We are voluntarily joining the IDF, which meant that many of them were not actually properly trained. It is kind of wild that they're in the middle of Jabalia, by the way. Why would a Haredi unit be in the middle of Jabalia? Chinese cyber attack is commenced. Your iMessage is working? Yes. Despite remaining silent or agnostic on the details of integrating Haredim into the IDF when the main plan was rolled out, IDF Chief Staff Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi delivered a major address on Tuesday to the need to greatly widen military service, a code for calling to integrate the Haredim and Arab Israelis, ? He did provide details. You are saying Jabalia wrong? Am I? He did provide details on how it could be done. Wait, what is this? Another soldier died in an accident today? The military announces the death of a reservist who was killed earlier today in an operational accident on the border of the Gaza Strip. His name, Sergeant Major Ron Yavetz, 39 of the Bislamach Brigade's 8628th Battalion from Modin. Yavetz was killed, and another 4 troops were lightly hurt as a blast caused by Israeli munitions in a military zone near the Black Arab Memorial Site on the border. The cause of the blast is still under investigation. Bro, that's the oldest person I've ever seen so far. That's like, that literally is the should be the highest ranking dude of all time. What's happening here? Yeah, 39 and only a sergeant major was not good at his job. I know. Shocking. IDF investigation. This from April 30th. 2 reservists killed in Gaza by friendly fire. I mean, this kind of stuff happens quite a bit. I'm just, I didn't realize it was a Haredi integrated unit. It was unclear why they did not recognize the battalion headquarters. However, the IDF said that the tanks had taken over the junction in Jabalia around 9 a.m. and the battalion headquarters deputy commander had only arrived many hours later. They were a part of the paratroopers brigade, so they likely would have been pretty well trained. Yeah, well, sergeant major is the highest enlisted position, at least in the U.S. Army. No, we're making a joke because he's 39, and the Israeli army has rank inflation. Like we're saying, like, if you're 39 in the IDF, you have to be like a rear brigadier, admiral, general, whatever, except for that guy. Oh, we're going to talk about the CNN investigation into the UCLA protest, which I'm shocked that they did. Where are we? Okay, let's finish.
The Prime Minister to set out a clear plan for how Gaza will be governed once the military operation is over. And if I show you the front pages of some of the Israeli press this morning, you've got Yoav Gallant and Prime Minister Netanyahu there. The headline says, "This is no way to run a war." And on this paper, you've got a headline saying that a military government in Gaza would mean only blood and sacrifices without purpose. You've got the Jerusalem Post there saying Gallant slams Netanyahu indecisiveness on Gaza.
This is what Time Without OVO was talking about earlier, the back and forth arguments within the war cabinet finally coming into full display in the eyes of the public, instead of just simply saying, like, here and there, offering anonymous quotes from one side here and there, leaking certain parts of the conversations here and there. This is like full-blown contradictions inside of the war cabinet.
Gaza. The defense minister said he'd been asking for these assurances repeatedly since October, but the Prime Minister had not been able to lay out any clear plan of how the Palestinian people in Gaza would be governed after the military operation concludes. There are questions about who will represent them, how will they rebuild their infrastructure, what will the role of the Israelis, other nations and international organizations be? Prime Minister,
I mean, you don't have to ask that question at all when, your goal is to do ethnic cleansing, right? Wild that this question has not been answered since day one, you know what I mean? Wild, in my opinion. Just
Mr. Netanyahu's response to that challenge yesterday was just to say that his priority right now is to eradicate Hamas and that he would not consider any sort of deal or power-sharing arrangement with the Palestinian Authority, who he considered to be supportive of terrorism. So that question remains open. In the meantime, there is this division at the top of Israeli politics, which has now led to some in the government calling for the Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, to be sacked from his role.
Yeah, interestingly, though, another member of the War Cabinet, Benny Gantz, in support of what Mr. Gallant was saying.
Yes, there has been support. He's been defended by Benny Gantz, others calling for him to go, saying that the Defense Minister failed on October the 7th, that he continued to fail, and that he should now be removed from his position. So the focus now is on how Benjamin Netanyahu responds to that. Will he keep Mr. Gallant in his position? He tried to sack him a year ago before the October the 7th attacks, and there were mass street protests that erupted then that meant that Mr. Gallant was able to stay in his role. There's a suggestion here that his position in calling for a clear plan puts him in closer alignment with what the Americans want to see. And everyone seems to accept that once the military operation is over, Benjamin Netanyahu's future doesn't look like it can continue at the top of Israeli politics. So perhaps this is Mr. Gallant positioning himself with the Americans as a future prime minister, not just to conclude the war, but then to lay out a future for Gaza.
Dan Johnson reporting.
No, Gallant is still Likud. The one that is that you're confusing for liberal is Benny Gantz, who is also a former general. Benny Gantz is a former general and also ran against Benjamin Netanyahu very famously by saying, like, look at all the war crimes that I did in the prior sieges. Like, I'm actually the real one. They're all bad. There's not a single good person in the war cabinet, obviously. They are all, to varying degrees, genocidal monsters.
Head to Xville.
Benny Gantz is supposed to be America's guy in the room, like the guy that America is investing in, and saying that, like, he will lead Israel down a different path. Meanwhile, in certain conversations, Benny Gantz, who, once again, I have to remind you, literally personally posted up his war crimes when running against Benjamin Netanyahu. It's Bush versus Kerry. No, don't ever disrespect Kerry like that. Benny Gantz is nowhere like Kerry. Are you kidding me? No shot. I mean, I'm not exactly fond of the guy, but John Kerry is infinitely better than Benny Gantz. That's crazy. That's actually wild. How dare you? Yeah, it's more like Bush versus McCain, I guess. It's more like Bush versus McCain because, like, McCain is more hawkish. Even though he's seen as, like, a more liberal person to Bush, he's more hawkish than Bush. And Benny Gantz is more hawkish than Netanyahu in many aspects. Like, internally, he's one of the pressure points that is demanding more bloodshed in a different direction than, like, Itamar Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are demanding. This doesn't mean that, like, Netanyahu isn't hawkish, by the way. He is. 2004 interview with the architect of Gaza disengagement, predicting that once the Gaza population reaches 2.5 million, there would be terrible war because Gaza would be too crowded, unlivable, and the IDF will have to kill. Jesus Christ.
From Jerusalem.
Breaking news overnight from Gaza in a major U.S. effort to prevent starvation among Palestinians. Installation of this pier by the U.S. military is now finished in new.
Oh yeah, we finished the pier. I forgot to mention that. We did it. We did it, everybody. Meanwhile, the situation is devastating on the ground. Obviously, aid is impossible to bring into the Gaza Strip. Why is it impossible is a great question. If you were asking that, if you're wondering that, well, it's because Israel closed up all of the entry points into southern Gaza and claimed that, like, Hamas was attacking the entry points themselves, which is bullshit. They did blow up, or at least they did fire onto an encampment that is 2 kilometers away from the Eretz crossing. And then Israel used that as a mechanism to punish the entire Gazan population once again. But like I said, there's already a shit ton of trucks that are just waiting on the other side of the border. And yet some of those trucks are being intercepted by psychopathic settlers. As you guys saw, very odd. It's not like there aren't entry points in the Gaza. There are. It's just that Israel is denying said entry points in the Gaza. The problem isn't that we needed a port. The problem is that we need to get Israel to allow aid into southern Gaza and every part of Gaza, as a matter of fact, even though Israel doesn't have the interest. Hello. My baby.
Aid could soon be coming into the territory. Israel controls the flow of supplies through border crossings, and relief agencies say they've been running out of food. Meanwhile, there is new fighting in northern Gaza. 5 Israeli soldiers were killed in a possible friendly fire incident. MTS Tayeb has the latest from Israel. MTS, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Well, more than 2 months after President Biden ordered its construction, the floating pier is now finally in position. Now, since the start of Israel's assault on Gaza, the Israeli military has imposed strict inspections of food and other supplies through its land crossings, triggering what aid agencies are calling a humanitarian catastrophe.
The massive U.S. military-constructed dock is expected to be operational in a matter of days. Anchored just a few miles off the Gaza coastline, its arrival has been difficult thanks to major logistical, security, and even weather challenges.
Clearly, land routes will be optimal, but as you know, we continue to see challenges in terms of getting aid in via ground. We're going to continue to employ this method to work with the international community to get aid into the people of Gaza.
The pier would initially handle 90 trucks a day, but that number could rise to up to 150. The UN says at least 500 trucks daily are needed to meet the desperate need in Gaza, as Israel continues to widen what it's calling a limited operation in the southern city of Rafah, where over the past week, nearly 600,000 people, around a quarter of Gaza's entire population, have had to flee again. Many to here, MWIII, a squalid beachfront camp with little aid and no sanitation. But elsewhere across the devastated territory, the violence is only spreading. In the northern Jabalia refugee camp, an Israeli airstrike killed several Palestinians and wounded many more. It's in Jabalia where the Israeli military said 5 of its soldiers were also killed this week in one of the deadliest incidents of its kind since violence erupted in October. According to Israeli media reports, the troops were killed when they were mistakenly hit by Israeli tank fire after they went back into the area after having previously pulled out, saying Hamas fighters had regrouped there.
And major divisions in Israel's war.
Okay, I've seen Al-Qassam brigade posts over the course of the past 2 days that actually show almost an identical number of casualties on the IDF side. So does that mean that like all of those also happened and then IDF also did friendly fire, or what's going on there? You know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've seen it as well. Like the one where there's like 3 or 4 people standing and they get rocketed. And I don't know if this is a way to be like, no, we killed our own people. It's not Hamas actually, in an effort to be like, we actually are doing a great job and Hamas is not operational. It could possibly be, or it could possibly be that like, I mean, they definitely aren't talking about that kind of thing. So it could mean that happened on top of the friendly fire. Maybe the idea of calling friendly fire just to say that Hamas can't do shit. I don't know. Maybe they're dying in the hands of Hamas and also killing themselves. All I know is that the reported death toll for IDF is pretty high for them, and it's not really being reported in the West much outside of like breaking points. Yeah, I have no idea what the IDF casualty numbers look like.
Cabinet have now spilled out into the open. The defense minister, Yoav Gallant, has accused the government of not having a clear plan for the day after the war in Gaza ends.
There were more operations by Al-Qassam. Al-Qassam said they had 17 confirmed kills and dozens more they labeled killed or injured. Literally just on video, there are more than the IDF casualty numbers. Yeah, I've seen those reports as well. That's why I was saying like I'm confused by it. You know, like it is very difficult to get accurate information due to the fog of war, obviously, and due to the lack of interest from the Israeli side in like adequately reporting the casualty numbers on the IDF side, specifically because it would be a major burden. Like I feel like and you are now seeing it for the first time ever, you're seeing Yoav Gallant and others talk about how we are losing this war, we are losing this war, we are losing this war, which is not even a war at all. It's literally ethnic cleansing. And they're still like, we can't even do the ethnic cleansing correctly. What's happening here, the public sentiment will shift dramatically. Okay? The public sentiment will shift dramatically in Israel as well, because nobody wants to, it'll be like seeing the coffins draped in American flags coming back from Afghanistan, a major blow to the supposed victory narrative that was being desperately cultivated by the government at the time, which very quickly was put an end to by the State Department. They were like, stop showing the troops. Stop showing dead troops. It's like it's up the bag. I suspect that the attitude is going to start shifting dramatically, both because of the ceasefire, the inability of a ceasefire negotiation, which is very annoying for the families of the hostages and their friends. And also, if they consider this to be like a failing operation overall, they're going to start feeling the pressure from the international community, seeing that the international community is losing faith in Israel because of its actions, and simultaneously feeling like this war is for nothing. Like we're killing people for nothing. 627 soldiers dead since October 7th, 279 since the ground operation. Every death Jewish Israeli gets reported on Israeli media to an extent. It just doesn't reach international media. Do you think it's only 279 since the ground operation, or do you think the number of, I suspect the number of wounded is probably much higher, right? Because like, I remember they were helicoptering in the wounded like over and over again. Obviously a single death for the IDF is far greater than 100 deaths for Palestinians. All Palestinians know is death and destruction. So when a Palestinian that is a part of the resistance group dies in the process of fighting back against the Israeli occupying force, that's seen as the norm. That's actually something that people are publicly cherishing and considering to be an overall good thing. But when an Israeli person dies, like, you're talking about a person that is probably like a marketing guy, you know what I mean? A guy who loves Israeli techno, a guy who loves wearing capri pants, who has loved ones that are in most circumstances used to him just like going to the grocery store and shit. For the Palestinians, the situation is different. It's not to say that Israeli lives matter more. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that Israeli lives matter more to Israelis because they are used to living in a relatively comfortable life. They're used to living like normal lives that we know and take for granted in the West. Moron Shear writes, the magnitude of the disaster after a relatively quiet period is shocking. It emphasizes the fact that this war is not going anywhere, and what we have not achieved, we probably will not achieve again. Just more knocks on the door, more helicopters landing on hospital roofs, more broken families will celebrate another Independence Day for the world. I told you this since day one. The comfort that the average Israeli has taken for granted also creates a shit ton of weakness. There have definitely been many wounded and likely more dead. Some suicides were reported too. Here's the full breakdown of the IDF website. They update this regularly. I don't know. On the IDF website. But I've been saying this. If you're in the Gaza Strip, all you know is death and destruction, trying to make the most of the situation, obviously, when there is no like sieges happening. But ultimately, you're under permanent Israeli control. Every decade or so, there's another siege that blows up entire city blocks, kills a couple thousand people. You're constantly under the threat and the oppressive thumb of the apartheid. If you're living on the other side of the border wall, however, your life is pretty good. Pre-October 7, you're not thinking about the apartheid at all. You're not thinking about Palestinians, or when you do, you're like, yeah, they're terrorists, and we're doing a great job dealing with them, right? It's like the same people in America, but that were like, as an American Jew, I'm terrified of walking down the street post-October 7, when they were talking about like the day of jihad or whatever, you know? And then you'd watch, it would be like a sexy photo from an Uber, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I'm so scared of walking the streets as a Jew right now, you know what I mean? Like, the day of jihad is upon us, like that sort of shit. It's like, there's no get ready with me's happening on the Gaza front, you know what I mean? In the same way that like Israelis, even after October 7, were literally doing the get ready with me, the genocide edition. That spells that you are used to a level of comfort. You are used to living like a relatively normal life. So when your homies die, it's definitely a much more significant casualty. Around 278 soldiers killed and 1,712 wounded since the invasion of Gaza began, not including October 7th. Anyway, that's something important to consider because it will cause the Israeli population to lose appetite in continuing this death and destruction. especially when they start recognizing that despite their best interest, you know, doing ethnic cleansing in the northern part of the Gaza Strip, Hamas and Al-Qassam and all these other brigades are not fully operational, but still absolutely popping out of tunnels every now and then and blowing up another Merkava tank. It's like, what's happened? I thought Gaza was wiped out. How are they still popping out of tunnels and blowing up Merkava tanks?
U.S. administration.
Oh, by the way, this war criminal over here is giving interviews to CNBC when you should be worried about. I saw that tweet. I don't know if it's real or not, but the ICC is now looking for Hebrew interpreters. Interesting.
Is pushing to release $1 billion of weapons aid to Israel. Can you confirm that? And do you have a sense of when that will happen?
Well, I hope it happens soon. Look, I appreciate the help we received from the United States from the beginning of the war. President Biden came here. He sent also...
Yeah, job postings are for December. Like last year, December, right? Not this year, December.
Battle carrier groups and without weapons. Yes, we do have a disagreement with Gaza, rather on Rafah. But we have to do what we have to do. And, you know, sometimes you just have to do what is required to ensure your survival in your future. We cannot continue into the future by having Hamas retake Gaza. It's not only would be a tremendous victory for Hamas, it would be a tremendous victory for the Iran terror axis, because Iran is trying to envelop us with a noose of death, of which Hamas is one component. And that victory is a victory against Iran. It's a victory.
So when did the judge say, why does he talk like he's from Brooklyn? Brother, he's from Philadelphia. Oh yeah, here's what Gallant said, by the way. This is what I was referencing. Thank you, Elite News. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, famous for saying, we are fighting human enemies. And we will shut off their electricity. They are terror babies. Anyway, he said, following an assessment of the Gaza border near Rafah, says more troops will be deployed to the city of the southern Gaza Strip as the military presses on with an operation against Hamas there. This operation will continue with additional forces that will enter the area. Several tunnels in the area have been destroyed by our forces, and more tunnels will be destroyed soon. Overnight, the IDF deployed the Commander Brigade to Rafah, joining the 162nd Division's Gavati and 401st Brigades, which have been there since earlier this month. The operation will intensify. Hamas is not an organization that can regenerate itself. Wait, no, this is not what I was talking about. There's another quote from Yoav Gallant who literally said, like, we're losing the war right now. Hamas is not an organization that can regenerate itself now. It has no reserves. It has no ability to manufacture weapons. It has no supplies. It has no munitions. It has no ability to properly treat terrorists who are injured. And the meaning is that we are wearing it down, Gallant adds. The IDF expects the Israeli government to approve widening the offensive in Rafah as it has done so far in stages. He said they weren't doing what Netanyahu said. They contradicted each other. Did I misunderstand what he was saying? Wrong link, but I don't know if you saw Wired's article about you in the 2020 election. Yes, I did. Oh, it was this. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant told Prime Minister Netanyahu that he must make tough decisions to establish non-Hamas rule in Gaza, even if it comes at a personal cost. The people of Israel look to us and expect us to make the right decisions. No, that's not what I'm thinking of either. Anyway, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant launches an unprecedented attack on Netanyahu for refusing to create an alternative government in Gaza. The lack of decision is a decision in and of itself. There's a trend that is creating a de facto Israeli civil and military government in Gaza. This is dangerous to us. Israel should not be the civil government in Gaza. Israel Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. We must dismantle Hamas's governing capabilities in Gaza. The key to the goal is military action and the establishment of a governing alternative. In the absence of such an alternative, only two negative options remain: Hamas's rule in Gaza or the Israeli military rule in Gaza. Yeah, okay, it's the same one. Yeah, no, he's saying we have to completely kill all the Hamas militants as though that will fix the problem. When the problem itself is, you know, you're the problem. Are you sure it's not Ehud Olmert's article in Haaretz? He's talking about impending civil war in Israel, basically how they've already lost the war. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't Yoav Gallant. Maybe it was Ehud Olmert. You could be right. I had to read and reread this report in Arabic and English, and I believe this is the first. Hezbollah claims to have conducted a drone strike, not a munition drop from a drone, nor a kamikaze drone attack, but an actual drone strike with missiles against the IDF in North Israel. The people sharing the most effective anti-Zionist propaganda are IDF soldiers. Israeli occupation soldiers shooting themselves, emptying their ammunition by indiscriminately shooting at a mosque in Gaza. Bro, this is literally all we see, is always shooting at walls, man. The IDF was not incorrect when it said an explosive-laden drone crashed into northern Israel earlier, though neither was Hezbollah when it claimed that its drone launched missiles at a military position near Metula. Footage released by the terror group shows... I don't believe that this is going to be Muslim, that he's like championing. Liberals hate civility you say that a year ago the Gamergate topics would resurface? Yeah, but even I didn't think that we would go back to like actual N-word discourse, like saying that, like running around and saying the N-word is okay. Like that's ridiculous. As a matter of fact, the cracker discourse is the other side of this, right? People getting upset at people saying cracker is directly a consequence of the fact that like a lot of white guys want to say the N-word and they get yelled at for saying the N-word, which is why then they turn around and go, okay, well then you can't say cracker. We literally moved away from cracker and racial slurs across the board are bad, which is already problematic, and they caused the play a role in this conference. How they started very quickly doing unimaginable, untold amounts of violence to black people. The reason for that was because
AI held big keynote events to show off the latest advancements in their generative AI products, Gemini and ChatGPT. And stop me if you heard this one before. Everything that both companies showed off was very impressive, but also not particularly useful or appealing or exciting beyond that initial feeling of being very impressed. Every big AI announcement increasingly feels like a magician doing a cool, close magic trick, which is awesome, but then they tell you that this is how cancer is going to be cured. Easy as pie. And yeah, I mean, look, I'm exaggerating. I'm being a bit overly dismissive here. I do have to give Google and OpenAI some props for at least being a bit better at giving compelling real-world use cases for their AI products. But I guess we're just turning into boomers, because as cool as some of this stuff is, I just can't think of a reason why I need any of it.
Especially when they keep saying, like, just wait. And in the meantime, everything is getting dumber. You can't trust anything because we're all beta testing this AI technology.
Yeah. If I want to do something, I have a way that I'm going to do it.
They after the thing, they enacted the Google AI search results, and I was looking up this new Diablo season, and I'm Googling some stuff about how to earn honor points or some shit, and it hallucinated an answer that didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it took me longer to find the real thing I was looking for.
Clogs up half. Exactly. You're like,
what am I doing here?
Right.
But let's start with OpenAI, who held their event first on Monday. They introduced their new flagship model, GPT-4o. Not GPT 4.0, it's the letter O, not the number. And the O stands for Omni, which is appropriate because they've combined text, audio, and vision into a multimodal chatbot that can do a bunch of things, similar to the AI assistant in the movie Her. And much like in the movie Her, they gave it a personality. And that personality is a little too flirty.
Yeah, at times comes off you're acting a little intimate. We barely know each other, AI.
Can we make the AI more submissive?
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would want this aside from horny reasons.
They turn the submissiveness and the breedability up on the AI. It needs to be breedable and submissive.
I mean, it was again impressive because like they clearly put a lot of work into this voice thing, because they were being like, hey, can you do that again, but like act a little more excited.
Yeah.
And it did. I'm like, okay, I don't know why I would ever need that, but I guess it's cool that they figured out how to do that. Seems like yet another great way. I can think of like 10 ways to use that in scams right off the top of my head. So there's that, but
yeah, but
they did it.
After the past year or so of seeing what happens when people forge what they feel are personal romantic relationships with chatbots, it seems ominous.
Yeah.
And probably a little ill-advised, I'd say.
Yeah, they really just like rolled this out without any acknowledgement or just, that's funny that you mentioned. Yeah, I guess she is a bit flirty.
Yeah.
Well, that's why
So yeah, so much of this demo was focused on the element of, wow, it's like talking to a real person. Even though that's totally irrelevant to the various use cases that OpenAI is pitching for this product. And for a brief rundown of those use cases, here's TechCrunch.
GPT-4o greatly improves the experience in OpenAI's AI-powered chatbot ChatGPT. The platform has long offered a voice mode that transcribes the chatbot's responses using a text-to-speech model, but GPT-4o supercharges this, allowing users to interact with ChatGPT more like an assistant. For example, users can ask the GPT-4o powered ChatGPT a question and interrupt ChatGPT while it's answering. The model delivers real-time responsiveness, OpenAI says, and can even pick up on nuances in a user's voice in response to generating voices in a range of different emotive styles, including singing. GPT-4o also upgrades ChatGPT's vision capabilities. Given a photo or a desktop screen, ChatGPT can now quickly answer related questions from topics ranging from what's going on in this software code to what brand of shirt is this person wearing. These features will evolve further in the future, MWIII says. While today, GPT-4o can look at a picture of a menu in a different language and translate it, in the future, the model could allow ChatGPT to, for instance, watch a live sports game and explain the rules to you.
It's also it's a chat boyfriend too.
Yeah.
Babe, you see what's happening out there on the pitch? And by the way, it's called a pitch. I know it looks like a field, babe.
Yeah. This would be great for all the lonely ladies out there who miss being mansplained too.
Yeah. Yeah. The chatbot also makes sure that you take up all the space on the bench.
ChatGPT, can you be a bit more condescending?
Yes. That's the thing. Is
Talk to me like I'm a child.
Yeah.
Explain like I'm 5 or a woman.
That way it's good for everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, all this plus a very casual and borderline flirtatious personality, and you got really the chatbot from the movie Her. It's almost like they were inspired by the movie Her. Yeah, it's a movie that OpenAI's Sam Altman apparently really, really likes. At least, you know, it's not a particularly dystopian piece of source material, unlike some other blatantly sci-fi influenced recent technologies like the metaverse. But the message of Her, it isn't that AI chatbots are good for humanity. In fact, you'd be surprised to know that it is quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Wired writer Brian Barrett tackled this in an article this week titled, "I am once again asking our tech overlords to watch the whole movie." This is just like The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I paused the movie halfway through. What a person to look up to.
Just like half of the Scorsese filmography. It's just like, wow, doing crimes is awesome.
Yeah. I'm not going to get to the whole consequences for the action part.
The Act 3, that's always a real downer.
But here's from that Wired article. As my colleague Kate Nibbs noted recently, the AI assistant Samantha in Her is not malicious. It doesn't take the easy, hackneyed road of turning against humanity. It doesn't even cut people off from the rest of society. AI partners are so normalized in Jones's imagined future that no one bats an eye when Samantha's user, Theodore, takes it as his +1 on a double date.
It's easy enough to see why Her holds so much appeal to AI companies. At a glance, it holds all of the benefits of conversational artificial intelligence and none of the drawbacks. Particularly, as Nibbs also mentions, none of the job displacement or economic disruption that AGI portends. But the fact that the inhabitants of the world of Her have no problem with AI companionship doesn't mean it's an unfettered good. The movie's AI relationships are easy, sure, but also false. Samantha exists to fit Theodore's needs. It's a dynamic that allows him to take without giving, to get constant reassurance that he is understood without doing the work to understand someone else. It's not until Samantha leaves, in Her, AIs around the world disappear to some higher plane of existence, an outcome that would surely vex OpenAI's investors, that Theodore confronts his own messy human relationships. He writes a letter to his ex-wife. He watches a sunrise with his neighbor. These are simple acts of being human, deferred because of an enabling AI. Roll credits.
Yeah, but some people would look at that and say, I prefer the dystopia where I am just content with my daily routine.
I think it's, I liked the part where he had sex with her by having her hire a sex worker and using that sex worker as her body. Yes. That was cool and exciting.
I never made it past that part.
Yeah.
It just kept pausing and
Like,
rewinding
this is
right
sick.
there. Yeah. The VHS tape burned out right there. Strange. So not exactly stoked about how much OpenAI is leaning into all of that, especially after what we've already seen of how susceptible lonely people are to AI companionship. We went through this multiple episodes last year of people getting real weird with it.
And before any of this shit, there was that Google guy who got like convinced that he had to rescue.
That was a premonition.
And that guy, I check in on him every few months. I think last time I saw he was high on some sort of drug and talking about the latest orgy that he went to.
Yes, he still was inaccurate about what he thought was happening, but truthful in the sense that, yeah, people are literally falling in love with robots.
Yeah, that's what it's designed to do, essentially.
Just say what you will about HAL 9000, but at least he didn't try to act like anything more than a cold, unfeeling machine. But you gotta admit, an edit of 2001 where HAL speaks like a sex hotline operator or a comic relief character in a Marvel movie, it'd be entertaining.
Yeah, that's the thing is like when it wasn't trying to sound lusty and sexy, it sounded like Grok.
Yeah.
It was just like, just cut the fucking bullshit, ChatGPT. We're not friends.
Yeah.
Why do you gotta, oh, did I just do that? Shut up.
But let's move over to Google now. Google I/O, Google's annual developer-focused event. And this year, AI was obviously the focus.
For everything.
Google is in its Gemini era. It is Gemini maxing, folks. And thankfully, most of the stuff they announced actually does seem somewhat practical if it works as advertised.
Which I doubt.
And I have already experienced the updates to search, and I can tell you firsthand that in the brief queries that I sent over to it, it failed those tests.
Everything they showed, I'm like, hey, I could see that possibly being useful. But I have very little faith in it actually working as smoothly as they are presenting.
Also, there's a great supercut of all the times they said AI throughout the event, and it is mind-numbing.
Yeah, take a shot every time they say AI.
No, don't. You will literally die.
So like OpenAI, Google's going multimodal with a lot of their stuff. For example, being able to do a Google search via video. This is so extra. So in their example, they used a video of a malfunctioning turntable. And Google was able to see the model of turntable, detect what's wrong with it, and pull up an AI-generated diagnosis along with some links. Okay,
yeah,
that's definitely something that I would not trust this to actually work. As
also, we've been through this not with the same exact kind of aim that they're going for here, but we've been through this with this kind of what is it called when you're like seeing the real world through the
metaverse?
Something like that, yeah. So
augmented reality.
Yes. So there was that thing where with Google and Yelp where you could like look around and see buildings and information. It's like that's a cool gimmick.
Yeah.
But things like this very rarely catch on, and this seems like one of those things that will absolutely not catch on because you're trying to always take the path of least resistance.
Also, it's
very easy to start typing things in.
The question she asked, like so it was the turntable, it was like the most common fucking turntable problem. Basically, like the balance was off, so the arm wasn't dropping properly. And it's like, would it have been that much harder to find that answer without this? I don't think so.
No. Well, it is getting harder now because the search is seemingly intentionally
first
getting...
20 results are like completely irrelevant.
You're going to want to use the AI because the rest of our search engine is fucking useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, similarly, you can ask Google Photos really specific questions about your photo library, like what's my license plate number? And it'll find that in your photos somehow. Or show me all the pictures of my kid learning to swim. It's like, I guess that's cool, but like as a Google Photos user, this fucking thing for years has claimed to be able to tell the difference between my dogs and has failed horribly at it. And the result is that anytime it's like, hey, we got a slideshow of your dog Lola. It's my dog Lola, who's very much alive, interspersed with photos of my dead dog Zizu, which really just like fucking ruins the mood of the entire thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not a big
that's
fan
why I
of
have
it.
my doubts.
It does seem a bit creepy in general.
Yeah, I mean, like
there's no way you're escaping this in general anyway, but it is unsettling to use.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, like a little bit of this, sure. You got like 10,000 photos and like you want to type in the word beach. Like, it's cool that it can tell what a beach is.
Yeah.
But like,
But at what cost?
Get it, but like also, yeah, just getting more detailed. Like I don't trust that it's gonna be able to do that properly. All I'm saying.
They should do a thing where every month it's like you have to select which 15 photos you want to keep, and we're gonna delete the rest of them.
They should do that.
Yeah, because it's just just think about how much data trash is out there.
Yeah.
Just videos of concerts, videos of fireworks.
Yeah, you're never gonna watch that.
You know how many fucking terabytes of fireworks footage is out there that no one's watching?
You're never watching that. It's not gonna be the same.
Anyway, unless you were at that San Diego one where they put them all
yeah, I'm glad someone photographed that.
Of course.
Another example, if you missed a Google Meet meeting or I just dozed off because video meetings are boring as shit, Gemini can summarize what was discussed, hopefully accurately.
You would hope.
But great for productivity. I'm sure people at offices love that people can increasingly just like be like, okay, I don't have to actually be there. I'm going to put a cardboard stand-up of my face in the window.
It's gonna be great
take a nap.
It's gonna be great for petty office battles. Well, let me just pull up the transcript.
Yeah.
Because remember when you said this?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, hopefully this cuts down on unnecessary meetings.
I think that the workflow problem is going to just be the same because you're going to have to double check everything it does.
Yeah.
Which is essentially just single checking like the first time that you would do the first time.
That is like my biggest issue.
You always have to check its
with
work.
all of this is it in saving you certain steps, it is also adding steps because you can never 100% trust that what it's giving you is accurate.
Yeah.
It's the same issue I have with like self-driving cars. It's like, unless I can 100% rely on it, I'm going to be more scared riding in a self-driving car than I would be driving myself.
Wow.
Anyway, Google's also got their own sci-fi inspired multimodal assistant in the works called Project Astra, which seems pretty similar to GPT-4o, but minus all the personality. So, okay, now you're speaking my language, Google. But again, they're doing this demo and it's like, that's great. Also, I love these demos because it's like 90% of it, once you get past the wow factor, is just like, okay, so is this just like for morons who like don't know what things are?
Yeah.
Like I can see it being useful for people who are literally blind. And it's funny because GPT, like that is one of the things they've been doing. They did not feature it in their big keynote though.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like companies that just have to innovate for innovation's sake to please shareholders. And we're just kind of getting new features that look very flashy that no one's going to use because there's also a track record of that. Like I said, like you can go back and look at all the keynotes from the past decade and all the features that they're pushing and how many of those do you actually use?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anyone like under the age of 50 who uses like Alexa or Siri on a like regular basis.
Yeah.
All the boomers I know are just constantly yelling at them. But like
in the Walmart yelling at their phone. Anyways, they also revealed a competitor to OpenAI's Sora AI video generator called Veo. It's got all the same issues as Sora. Key among them that as much as they say anyone can make a movie now, it's just objectively not true.
Yeah.
They even had a little segment where they met up with Donald Glover to show him the tech and get some sound bites of him being impressed. But despite Glover saying how useful it would be, they very conspicuously did not show off anything he actually did with it, aside from footage clips generated from random prompts. And similarly, in the section of generative music, they got Wyclef Jean and Mark Ribbolette to test it out. And both of them talked about how useful it would be as a new way to find samples and come up with ideas, but only very briefly showed them actually doing any of that.
Yeah, the Donald Glover one broke my heart a little bit. He is, like many artists, he's like he's not problematic, except that he's just kind of dumb. He's a genius. Yeah. Atlanta's my favorite show ever, and I also really like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but he's like an Andrew Yang guy, and like just the stuff he's like saying about AI, I'm like, you don't fucking believe that. Also, you're like really talented. What? You don't fucking need this shit. Shut up.
Same with the Mark Ribbolette thing. It's like they had to have just wheeled out just so much money.
Yeah. I mean, and Wyclef and Mark Ribbolette, like the stuff they said about sampling, I'm like, okay.
Well, Wyclef's been like tech guru guy for 2 decades.
But the
now.
stuff about sampling, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. As opposed to like being like, anyone can be a musician now because you just type in a prompt and there's your song. I'm like, that fucking sucks. But if you are a musician, especially making sample-based music, I can see how this would be useful to avoid just like crate digging through like hundreds of records to find the perfect sound. But like, we'll see. And it is interesting that they did these collabs with professionals, but didn't show off any work that they actually created with it.
That's like the magic of, well, specifically hip-hop. Like, the magic is having someone who knows what those are, who has that fucking brain, who can immediately be like, I know the sound we're looking for. It's this. I know a 70s funk disco artist, and there's this one like break beat on this album that we're gonna loop, and it's gonna sound amazing.
Yeah, it is a form of artistry that you can't replace.
It's musical collage.
I watched a video the other day on like the making of the first Justice album, Cross, and like the sampling techniques they used, and it's like fucking insane. Like it is truly an art.
One of the famous viral videos of this over the past since YouTube existed is the how Prodigy made Smack My Bitch Up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy to hear what the source audio is in the final product. It's proof that it is art. So that is a talent, having that Rolodex in your mind as a producer. So there you go. Now, the biggest announcements that will actually affect your everyday internet user were, of course, Google Search, which for the past few years has been turning to shit. And it will continue to turn to shit because they're apparently not doing anything to fix their actual search results. They are just adding an AI component on top called AI Overviews that works like a chatbot, where you give a question, you get an answer, and you hope that it has hallucinated the correct thing. And in my experience, it is not. And it even shows you the source that it's pulling from. Mine had multiple sources of where it was getting the information from, but those combined sources created an answer that was inaccurate.
Yeah. I saw one today. Someone asked it, or yesterday, someone asked it a pretty basic question about like inflation. Like, how much would $100 in like 1930 be worth today? And the answer was completely fucking wrong.
Yes. Well,
and then it was a two-part answer, and the two parts of the answer contradicted each other.
With my results, I thought what was fascinating about it was that it does the whole blogger recipe tactic, or like the I have to fill out this paper for a report tactic. Where like the answer it gave me, I would say 2/3 of the answer block was, so you've decided to jump back into the...
Shut up!
It's like, just tell me what the fuck...
Stop trying to be my friend. I don't want to be friends with any robots. You are a tool.
It gave me like a 2-paragraph introduction into what I was looking for.
I hate that shit. I'd be a lot less hostile to this AI shit if...
It just treated me like an adult.
Hello, here is your answer.
Yes.
I'm sorry for my existence. Like, okay, I don't forgive you, but at least you know your place.
Yes. Stay there.
You are a droid.
Yes.
You are less than human. You are my property.
As an empath, I know that you're trying to manipulate me. Now, meanwhile, if you actually want to use the search function the way that you always have, you will now have the option of just the search results.
Okay.
And you do that by clicking the web tab. Is that confusing? Hopefully not.
Yeah, it's right next to the all
It's
tab.
next to the all tab, of course. And that actually also removes all of the other automatically generated stuff that they've been adding to search in the past few years.
The one that I like is the Wikipedia box. Very helpful. So if you click the web tab, you don't even get that. They've really cluttered that shit up over the past few years.
Because they're trying to keep busy.
And I'm not going to say it's 100% useless. I'd say it's about 50% useless, which is in some ways more annoying than if there was none of it.
Yeah.
Because even, I mean, it was already powered by AI, not Gemini, but like, you know, you'd ask a question and there'd be like examples of other questions. You click a little arrow and see it. And that's another thing where like you get shit that contradicts each other or isn't relevant. And like you read it and you're like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I still have to click through to the source to find out if it's even true. And you click on the source and you're like, oh, this sucks. Why did Google rank this as a high quality result?
You're never gonna get a better search result than going on YouTube and looking for the problem and getting like a Bandicam screen capture from someone halfway across the planet.
100%.
Explaining very quickly how to fix whatever you're doing.
I've found this to be especially true with anything related to gardening, plants, vegetables. Google fucking useless. Gardening websites, like the results you get, any gardening related question are worse than recipe websites.
Yeah.
Half that shit is fucking AI generated now. It's like you gotta read 20 paragraphs to even get to the point. It's all spam. But like, on YouTube, like, I've searched for the most like obscure fucking thing, and some dude in fucking like India just answers everything in like a minute and 30 seconds.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, this all seems like, I guess it could be useful in certain situations, but that of course assumes that it is reliable. And at this point, that is not something we can assume.
You're gonna have to double check your work all the time. And you're doing all the work by having to check all the work.
Yeah, but one feature that Google showed off that I hope is reliable, and it seems particularly great if it actually works, is real-time AI-generated scam warnings that pop up during phone calls.
Okay.
Where the AI listens to what the caller is saying and then notifies you that this sure sounds a lot like a scam.
Okay.
This is something that is pretty urgently needed at this point. Ironically, the problem is getting worse very quickly thanks to AI. But yeah, we'll reserve our praise for this feature for when it's actually available to use, and we hear about people using it. We hear about this saving someone's grandma from giving their life savings away. I will give Google all the credit for that because, yeah, this is a huge fucking problem.
I got a quick fix.